99.9% of the time, the first deal that you will get is simply because you talk to enough people, enough of the right people that you could have sold, Joe could have sold, Amy could have sold, my son could have sold with his iPad, push and play on a video. It's a laydown. It's what we call a laydown. I'm going to share two quick examples. My very first deal doing door-to-door sales back in 2013, California, Southern California, is January 2nd, 2013. Why do I remember that? I don't know. Well, actually I do know, because it was terrifying. Very first day, I get dropped off in this neighborhood and I'm in California. Everyone's telling me California people are dicks, blah, 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 blah. They're going to slam the door. They're going to scream at you. They're going to tell you no soliciting, all this different stuff. And I got dropped off absolutely terrified to the point where I made myself sick. I didn't know sales. I grew up on a farm, dude. I didn't know sales. I didn't know how to talk to people. It was terrifying. How am I going to convince people? I didn't even have the product, guys. I was selling a home security system. I didn't even have a home, much less a security system. How do you sell a product you don't even use, dude? Imagine, very first day, I got my ass kicked for about the first hour. Boom, 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 boom. First door I knocked on, some guy that had a big old Jeep. I tried to go for the house with the grandma that I thought would be sweet. Big bald guy answers the door, looks like Dana White's brother, basically says, F you, get off my porch, woof, slams the door. Okay, that's how we started the day. That very first door knock, nothing. About an hour in, I start going, all right, Nick, you're not the smartest guy, but you ain't the dumbest either. Why don't we start getting a little bit creative here? Let's go start knocking on some doors of current customers and let's see if we can get some leads. Let's see if we can get some tips of who to talk to. I go up the street, I knock on this guy's door. I remember walking up the stairs and I said, hey, my name's Nick. I'm with such and such company. I am here. And he's like, yeah, we know the spiel. We love the system. I'm like, no, I'm not trying to bug you. I said, hey, I know you've probably been asked this before, but if you were me, who would you go talk to? Which of your neighbors? I promise I'm not going to bug them. I'm not going to use your name or anything like that. Who would you go talk to and why? And this guy said to me, he said, you know, it's funny you ask because you guys came around 6 months ago, 4 months ago when we bought ours. And I was like, oh, great. Here we go. Somebody's already hit all the good doors. That was the first thought. Said, but the guy across the street, George, as soon as we got our system and we saw the little sign, he started asking me questions about it. And he's asked me a couple times about it. So you may want to check with George. I said, okay, thanks, man. Shook his hand and I turn around and I swear my life, somebody pulls into his driveway. Like, you can't make this shit up. Pulls into his driveway and the homeowner goes, hey, that's George right there. And I'm like, no freaking way. So I skip over across the street, start giving my pitch. I'm sure I sounded like Mr. Salesman. Hey, I'm here to sell you. But I went into my spiel. He cuts me off before I even finish. And he looks at me and goes, why don't you come inside? Invites me. I don't even have to ask to go inside. He literally invites me inside. I completely calmly walk through the entire process and I land a full package, which is basically the Hail Mary of all deals, the biggest commission, whatever. This is within my first couple hours of doing this job. It was a freaking laydown. Wesley, I'm going to use you as an example. You've never sold home security systems. If you would have been knocking doors that day, you would have sold George. Aaron, you would have sold George. Yemi, you would have sold George. It was a freaking laydown. I knocked on the right door at the right time. He was the right person. And I talked to enough people to get to George. Guys, your first deal, 99% of the time, is a laydown. Your first deal is you're talking to enough of the right people, period. So if you're sitting here going, well, I don't have a deal yet. You haven't talked to enough of the right people. In that very first deal, you got to go through enough reps and you're going to find what I would consider a laydown. My very first rank and rent, actually one of my first. This is a rank and rent deal, not door to door. But I'm knocking doors, guys. I'm doing this as I'm doing a 9-to-5 job. I knock on this door in Huntsville, Alabama. I knock on the door and I start pitching this lady and she stops. He goes, let me grab my husband. She grabs her husband. His name's also Nick. He comes out, super Western, super country guy. And he's like, hey, what's going on, man? And I go into my pitch and he cuts me off and he's like, dude, I'm not interested in security. I got a dog. I got a gun. I'm protected by Smith & Wesson. You know, that whole spiel. I'm like, okay. And I was like, it was late at night and I was tired. And I was like, I just kind of stopped the pitch. Usually I would have gone for it 2 or 3 times, but I didn't. And I turned, I said, all right, no problem, man. And I looked at his truck and he had this wrap. I could tell he was either a company guy or he owned a company. And I said, what do you do, man? If you don't mind me asking, I know it's late, just real quick, what do you do? And my mind started shifting and I was like, I don't know, maybe there's something here with this digital marketing stuff, this rank and rent stuff, but I'd never heard of this type of business. And I start asking him, and he perks up and he starts telling me, he's like, yeah, we do this. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And I started asking some questions. Next thing you know, I'm literally in his house looking at a part of his house. He's showing me what he does on his house. We get done. I talked to this guy for an hour and I said, dude, I think I can get you some jobs. I said, I know I'm knocking on your door selling you a security system, but I'm actually transitioning out of this. I'm going to be done doing this soon. I think I can get you some more work. I don't know if you're interested, but I can get you some more work. And he goes, do you need a commitment tonight? And I was like, well, no. He said, let me call my partner. So I stand on the porch. He walks over, calls his partner's name's Ben, calls Ben, and he walks back and he says, meet me tomorrow at Texas Roadhouse at 12 o'clock and let's talk. I said, sounds good. Grab his number and I head to the house. That night I stayed up all excited, prepped a little spiel, printed off a bunch of documents. Next day, went to Texas Roadhouse. I pulled out my stuff. I showed him this. I tried to act like I'd been doing this 100 times. I'd never done it before. And we get to the end of it. No contract, no nothing. He says, okay, how much you want? And I said, $1,000. He said, okay, does that include everything? I said, yes. He reaches across the table, shakes my hand. He says, let's go out to the car. I'll get you a check. Cuts me a check on the spot for $1,000. And that gentleman was my client for over 3 years. Guys, lay down. Your first deal is most likely going to be a lay down. So if you don't have a deal yet, keep going. You're going to have to talk to enough of the right people to get that first deal. That should put you at ease because there's nothing wrong with you. If you've tried it, you've called and you've done Zoom calls, or you've called and you've just gotten your ass kicked, keep going because it's just a matter of time. If you talk to enough of the right people, you will get a deal.